years. 15 years since you've been home.
You know I won't come.
Your sister tells us that you got engaged. Come home. At least for our wedding anniversary this weekend. Bring your fiancée. Let us meet her.
So what brings you here?
Just passing. Please come down from your bed.
No.
I see. Nikia, my parents, this is Amicia Chazeta, and the old man is a shipwreck in Chazeta.
Ah, Leo. I can almost forgive you for getting engaged without letting us know.
You hate her, don't you?
How dare you talk to me like that? I see you love my cowboy boots. See, cowboys are men of substance. You understand?
Hi guys, you are welcome to another episode of Relufe Review, a show where we objectively review the Nigerian art, music, movies, and entertainment in general. Today is another movie review, and like I always say, everything that I say here is all my personal opinion and my standard. You know, it's not based off on anything, so you can decide to agree or disagree with my final verdict. My name is AY with the double O, and let's get right into the movie for today. The movie we are going to be reviewing today is titled The Weekend, and The Weekend is a cinema movie directed by Daniel Oriahi. I think this is the first movie I'm watching of Daniel that, you know, is directing. This is the first time I'm hearing of Daniel Oriahi. And when I heard The Weekend, what came to mind was, I wasn't really sure, to be very honest. I just saw The Weekend. Of course, I'm expecting something around a weekend. And then, of course, The Weekend happened and turns out to be an horror movie. But funny enough, before getting in the cinema, I was already jittery, like, am I going to run out of this place? Like, I don't really like, you know, like horror. You know, I saw the first two scenes and I'm like, am I going to still stay here? But turns out that it's horror, but with a little bit of sanity, for the lack of a better word. I was calm in the movie. So The Weekend, directed rather by Daniel Oria. He had beautiful actors in it. He had Uzomaka Anuno, Basie Young, Gloria Young, Buchi Franklin. And for the first time, I saw Buchi Franklin in a different, there was just something with the masculinity, like it was just giving, you know, I don't know, I saw him differently, by the way. So The Weekend tells the story of Nikia, and Uzomaka Anuno played the role of Nikia, a woman who was orphaned at a young age and, you know, longed for a family of her own. Now, let me take us quickly into the plot of the story and, you know, how everything played out. Now, of course, the first scene, we saw Nikia, we saw Luke, and all of that. These people are engaged. Now, Nikia has been orphaned and wants a family of her own. And she's wondering, like, okay, my supposed fiance, you know, I've never met his family before, and I don't want to get married to somebody who I would, of course, is weird. Why would you be dating someone about to get married to someone and you've never met his family? So that she didn't ask for too much by saying, oh, Luke, I want to meet your family. Buchi Franklin played the role of Luke, and the character Luke, by the way. And of course, you know, after so much pressure here and there, Luke gives in and says, okay, this weekend we're going to meet my family. And that was after his mom had reached out to him to say, it's our wedding anniversary, you know, as your parents, and I want for you to be there. Now, Nikia got more than what she bargained for, is the story of this movie. You know, don't be careful what you wish for sometimes, and also be careful what you wish for. And Nikia was also too, she was quite nosy in the movie. So I didn't really understand the character to an extent. You know, at some point I wanted to just go into it and tell her, you're doing too much, you know. And that was how real, and that was how I just flowed into the movie. The funny thing about the movie is there was no sound from start to finish of the movie. And I'm wondering, how did I sit for this long? Daniel Oriahi did a good thing directing that movie. It's an absolutely lovely movie. If you have not seen it, if you have not seen it, just watch this review and then decide if you want to see it or not. But I'm sure after the end of this review, you would want to watch it. And that happens, and then it turns out that the reason why Luke had been running from his family is because they were cannibals, like they eat people. From the scenes where I could see, because they were there was emphasis on eating meat. in the movie. So I could tell from the, first few scenes that there was something about this meat that was not 100%, genuine and all that. And it turns out that his family were cannibals. But what I wasn't sure was if they hunt for people to eat or they eat, dead people. And, that was the tension that was in the movie from start to finish. And it kept me on my toes. Like I was really glued to my seat to watch what was going to happen from the start to the finish of the movie. And then, of course, turns out, be careful what you wish for. Like I said, Nikia, what happened towards the end, I didn't expect for Luke to die, though I didn't expect that. I didn't know what to expect, to be very honest. Let me be very honest, but I didn't expect that he would die. And he just kind of gave a very sad, ending. But I'm happy at least that Nikia stayed alive. So with that, that's the plot of the story. Let me just go directly, let me go straight into the rating criteria for this movie. For the rating criteria of this movie, for me, I would say what makes a good plot is how, the scenes follow. Like some things that were not revealed to us in the initial part of the movie, we gradually saw that unfold. And for me, that's a good plot of a story. Now, from the family secrets being unraveled gradually, it's not like from the first scene. From the first scene, of course, if you're good with movies, you'll be able to tell, okay, I think they eat people, but we saw that unfold gradually. You could not really predict what was going to happen towards the end. And if you did predict, you were just lucky, but for that, I would say that they were consistent with each scene and with what part of the story was going to unfold next. And that itself is a good plot. So for the plot, I'll give it a 8 over 10. And that's because I'm going to take away 2 because from the markers for Nikia, she wasn't able to decide. Decisions were somewhat inconsistent in the movie, and of course she was scared. She wasn't sure what was ahead of her and all that, but it was a bit inconsistent. I think she could have just decided in time. For someone, if you're brave enough to open a box, to be that nosy, you shouldn't have a problem deciding, which was what I saw towards the end of the movie. So for the plot of the story, I'll give it a good 8 over 10. For the attraction in the movie, if you're a fan of horror movies, and of course thriller genre, you would agree with me that the family's ability to build relatable characters, we saw the father, of course they were somewhat so real. They were still, the father was still the father, the mother was still the mother, but they still brought out the father and mother in them, regardless of the fact that, they were being cannibals. I like the fact that, they still seemed like a family, because for Nikia, she felt welcomed into the family when she initially joined them. And all of that, and giving us relatable characters. We saw the boyfriend who was played by James Gardiner. He played the role of Zado, and he gave us that misogynistic character. The relatable characters part for me was the attraction in the movie, and I would give it a good 8.5 over 10. For the theme of the movie, it's well defined. It talks about family secrets, and of course we saw that play out in the movie. You also talk about how the past, can shape us into what we become, much later. And of course we saw that, being explored in the movie, how Luke's childhood, still was affecting him at a much, older age. And it also talks about how, secrets, I think for me, the secret part in the movie, I think Luke did a bit too much by, keeping that away from her. I know that she pressured him into meeting the family and all that, but he could have just maintained any other lie. Tell her your family, you don't have a family, tell her you grew up in an orphanage home, just anything to keep her safe if you actually did love her, but that family secret, family drama and all of that, it was well explored in the movie, and they gave us all of that. They gave us the energy. Thumbs up to, I'll mention Daniel Oria again, because I just love how the movie unfolded. And I think this is one of the most underrated movies, because I'm not getting the noise that I want to get from the movie. It seems like a low profile movie, a movie that doesn't want to do too much, but at the same time ended up doing too much. That's what I believe about The Weeknd for me. So for the theme, I'll give it 8 over 10. Well, I don't want to say they're not A-list actors. There are A-list actors in the movies, while some people are just still in the phase of, they're still coming up, of course. Meg Otawa playing Kama, which was Luke's sister, James Gardiner playing Zado, Bushi Franklin playing Luke, Uzoamaka Nuno playing Nikia, and all of that. Basi Ekpeyon playing his father, Gloria Young playing his mother. I mean, these are beautiful actors, amazing actors. But one thing about the acting for me was how each character allowed each character to shine. Now, I saw enough of Luke, I saw enough of Uzoamaka Nikia, I saw enough of Meg Otawa, who played the role of Kama, I saw enough of Zado until they chopped him, until, of course, he was killed and eaten by the family. Of course, I saw enough of each character, I saw enough of the mother. There's a way that you see some movies that some characters would overshadow other characters. And for the acting in this movie, they had enough. It was more like they had the same number of scenes or the same number of lines, like it was even all through. Each character allowed each character to shine, and the acting overall, each character gave it their best. Because for a movie, if some characters are down while some characters are that's why you see some actors overshadow the others in movies. But in this movie, each character gave it their best, and each character allowed for each character to shine as well. And that has to do with the producer and the directors of the movie, and of course the scriptwriter, if you ask me. So thumbs up, that was an amazing one with the acting of the movie. I'll give it a good 8.5 over 10. So for the dialogue of the movie, I'll say that each conversation from start to finish, there's almost nothing to fault in this movie. There's some things to fault, which I will point out, but there's, I was this close to not being able to pinpoint anything to actually fault, in the movie. So for the dialogue of the movie, the conversations were genuine, they were real, they were not forced, there was no accent anywhere. It was just flowing from one conversation to the other. The father and mother had the that wasn't there. They acted like, okay, you be my papa, I'm your father, but I have issues with you. And that was what we saw with the conversation. And even with the sister, I saw the bond with his sister. And of course, when they had to give us the dialogue, the conversations where, they had to call each other out, we saw that as well in the movie, and it was crystal clear. So for the dialogue of the movie, they did an amazing job. I'll give it a good 8.5 over 10. So for the cinematography of the movie, I'll say it was the highlight of the movie for me. It gradually built tension for the camera angles, for the lighting. The part where we were supposed to feel a bit frightened or slightly worried, we saw that. And it was a gradual process. They didn't give us what they were supposed to give us, like the scenes where we were supposed to, be tensed. They didn't give us that cinematography effect in the start of the film, which is why I said earlier that it's a gradual build-up for the movie. So for the cinematography, I'll give it 9 over 10 for the cinematography. They did an amazing job with that, and it settled us into that unsettling atmosphere that they wanted us to get mid the film, which was what we saw. And of course, the revelation about the family being cannibals. They eat people, they chop people for that movie. And they did an amazing one with that scene as well, the butchering part and all that. For the cinematography, I'll give it a good 9 over 10. For the editing of this movie, I'd say that well-paced even and all that. But towards the end of the movie, some scenes were a bit disconnected. And that's the scene where Nikki had found out who the family, what they were all about. She had found out that they eat people, they're cannibals, they eat meat, human flesh. And she was fighting for her life, and Luke was with his father, and they were trying to show us the scene where Nikia was trying to escape. And on the other hand, they were trying to show us what was happening with Luke and the father. There was a bit of disconnection there that I did not... The editing for that part, the scenes did not really align. They could have shown us that and that without making it seem, a bit disconnected, which was the only editing, faults that I could see in the movie. So for the editing, I'll give it a good 7.5 over 10 for the editing of the movie. For the soundtrack of the movie, I didn't hear a sound from start to finish of the movie. Like it was just the sound I heard was probably the natural thing, breeze, maybe the wind, or just the normal noise from recording, but there was actually no sound, no music, nothing from start to finish of the movie, which was unique. I'd say unique. I've seen some movies, but not Nigerian movies. I've never seen a Nigerian movie like that without sound from start to finish. And I'd say that I literally didn't hear anything. I almost didn't hear anything. It was just from one scene to the next scene. They didn't give us that, and it was still good. It was a beautiful watch. I would not necessarily be rating the soundtrack because I didn't hear a thing in the soundtrack of the movie. For the directing of the movie, Daniel Oria, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've never consciously, like, okay, this is a movie I know is directed by Daniel Oria. I do not know that, but this is the very first one, and I'm saying, and I think that because I don't know if his name is all how there yet, but I think he did an amazing job with the directing of this movie. The movie is worthy. I'd say the movie is worthy. I'll give you a good 9/10 for the directing of the movie. Whatever you had in mind, I don't know if that's what you eventually, brought for us to like see in the movie, but it was a good watch from start to finish. We had tension where we're supposed to have tension. We were calm where we're supposed to feel a bit relaxed. And of course, any movie that keeps you glued to your seat from start to finish, it's good direction. That's what I'll say. For the it factor, I'd say that it's a one-of-a-kind kind of movie. To be very honest, I'm not going to lie about that. It is a unique movie. But I'll say that because it's supposed to be a horror movie, thriller genre, we didn't really get that horror. The horror is there, but I'll just say that this is horror with a bit of sanity. I'll excuse that part. I was expecting that dark. It's not as dark as the normal horror movie would be, but it was still dark. It was dark, but it wasn't so. It didn't give us that. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't frightening. And I do not agree that all horror movies have to be exactly frightening, So for the it factor, I'd say a good 8/10 for the it factor because it was a job well done from the directing to the acting of the movie. However, I'm not sure about the end of the movie. I'm curious to know what happened. I'm hoping there'll be a sequel, one way or the other. I'm curious to know what happened with Nikia and how she was able to get back to the gate. Because if you watch the movie, or if you have watched it, you'd see that from the gate of, like, when they were going to get into Luke's village, from the entrance, there were security men asking questions, and all that. And of course, they knew what the village was all about. That I don't want to believe that everybody in that village are cannibals because the carpenter was the one that eventually helped Nikia and told her the truth about the family and all that. So I want to believe that some part of the people in the village, do not eat people. There's some people that are just clean people and all that, but most of them, I want to believe, are cannibals. And how were they able to get past that gate? How was Nikia able to leave a family all dead and left alone? And drove herself out, and also at the checkpoint she had marked herself, and when she was about to go, all she had to do was show them the mark. But is it that she had to escape right there and there, or is it that nobody knew? And that part was not really clear. But I like that they also just, it wasn't cliche, because a normal movie would have showed us, this part, like really dragged us to see what eventually happened. But it was unique to just see them like jump up from that scene. I'm like, okay, Nikia is finally here and has escaped, and all of that. It was good. It was good. Thumbs up. At the end of that movie, this was what I did because I was indeed blown away. They blew my mind with The Weeknd. So finally, we've come to the end of the review of The Weeknd movie, and from this end, The Weeknd gets a good 8.5/10 from this end. So if you agree or you disagree with my final verdict, let me know in the comment section what you think about The Weeknd movie. But The Weeknd movie from this end is a must watch. If you haven't seen it, you should go to the cinemas and watch it. I promise you, you are going to love it. It's an amazing movie. It's a calm movie. It's a movie that makes you, think ahead, like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next, and all of that. With that, we've come to the end of the weekend review on Relufe TV. Let me know if you have any movie in mind whatsoever that's trending, or that's new, or that's coming, or that's yet to even be out. And you want to say ahead of time, okay, Relufe TV review this movie, just drop it in the comment box. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and of course, it's the subscribe button if you are just passing by and watching this video. My name is AY with the double O, and I'll see you on another episode of Relufe Review.